Chapter 11. What the Roots Remember. The earth doesn't hold you. It watches to see if you will fall. From a child's chant scratched beneath a rotted plank. I didn't return to the cut tree for 3 days. I meant to, but something always pulled me elsewhere. The new shelter needed adjustments. The stone had rolled beneath a loose root and vanished for half a day. I followed the moss lines to find it. I thought I saw it pulsing faintly under the surface, as if it had curled up to rest. The fog came and went without pushing into the clearing. It hovered now, like a guest waiting to be asked inside. I watched it in the evenings, sitting cross-legged by the mast. The fog didn't speak, but I knew it could. It circled us like an animal trying to remember our scent, never touching, but never quite gone. Sometimes, when I stared too long at its edge, I felt my own breath slow to match its rhythm, until I wasn't sure if it was waiting, or if I was. It wasn't till the 4th morning that I noticed the change. The earth had shifted under my bedroll, only slightly. A small rise like a wrinkle in skin. When I stepped on it, the ground felt warmer. I pressed my hand to the soil. Something throbbed faintly beneath it. Not heartbeat. Not movement. A memory, maybe. I pressed harder. The warmth deepened. A low, almost silent sound filled my ears. Not from outside, but from inside my head. Like a drum played far beneath the floor of the world. When I stood, the moss I had flattened lifted again, slowly, as though exhaling. And then I saw it. A single root, no thicker than a vine, had broken the surface near the edge of the clearing. It curled gently the stone. I knelt, touched the root. It didn't react, but the stone pulsed. And the mast hummed, not at me, not for me, but around me. I left the shelter and walked toward the place where I had cut the tree. The path was narrower than before. Branches hung lower. Leaves whispered with no wind. When I stepped onto the patch of earth where the tree had stood, I paused. But beneath it, a net of roots had surfaced. They weren't tangled. They were arranged. In lines, loops, almost like script. I crouched beside them. Ran my fingers across the bark, then the roots. They pulsed. Not like before. Not grief. Not pain. Recognition. I closed my eyes. Let my fingers rest there. Images didn't come. Sounds didn't come. But something else did. A pressure. Not physical. Like standing in a place where someone once cried and feeling it still in the air. The stone had followed me. I hadn't noticed, but when I looked back, it was resting beside my foot. I picked it up, placed it gently atop the roots. A pause, then a hum, quiet, from below. The roots shifted slightly. Not pulled, not pushed, like breath under skin. Then they were still. I sat beside them. Not to watch, not to watch, not to wade, just to be near. For the rest of the day, I stayed close to the roots. The fog came once and touched the edge of the space. It didn't pass. I whispered to it. Not a command, just a greeting. That evening, I began stacking stones in a ring near the roots. Not a fire pit. A boundary. A circle. I didn't know why. My hands moved without asking. The stone helped. It rolled and nudged other stones toward me, choosing shapes I hadn't noticed. By twilight, I had completed the ring. I sat in its center, the tree stump to my left, the mast far behind. The air inside the circle felt different. Still, but not silent. A kind of listening settled in the space, like breath held in reverence. A breeze came not above, but from beneath. Just once, it lifted the leaves in the circle gently, spinning them like thoughts trying to find words. I looked up and saw nothing move. The fog had retreated again, but the trees at the edge leaned inward slightly, their branches not touching, just tilting as if curious. As the sky darkened, I thought I saw faint lights between the roots. Not fireflies, not glow. A soft shimmer, like dew catching the last of the light in a way it shouldn't. When I blinked, it was gone, but the memory of it stayed. I reached for it the way I had once reached for my mother's hand when the night grew too loud. That night, I dreamed of roots. Not climbing. Not falling. Just winding. Around me. Beneath me. Through me. In the dream, they pulsed with a slow rhythm. The same hum I'd heard under the moss. Some of them had eyes. Some whispered with voices I almost understood. They did not threaten. They remembered. When I woke, my hand was pressed flat against the soil. I hadn't meant to place it there. The ground beneath my spine was warm, not heated by sun, alive. I stayed there a long time. Later that morning, while boiling water in the shallow metal bowl, I saw the moss shift again. It crept inward, slowly, not unnaturally, like it had been allowed, and with it came small, fine threads of root, barely visible. They traced toward the ring I had made. I removed a stone and waited. The threads curled inward, touched the soil within the ring, and stopped. Then, slowly, they retracted. That evening, I saw them again, closer this time, almost playful. The stone rolled after them. They moved like they had once been part of something greater, and were now trying to remember what shape they had belonged to. When I touched them, I felt nothing with my skin, but in my chest came a flicker of sadness that wasn't mine. Or maybe it was. It had just lived too long beneath the surface to know the difference. I whispered to the roots that night, not words, not even breath, just presence. I let my thoughts unravel beside them. I thought of the old tree before it was felled. I thought of my father's hands pressing against its bark. I thought of how quiet the world became after we were exiled, how even the stars seemed to pause in their flicker, unsure if they should still look down on us. That night, I dreamed not of the tree, but of the island beneath it. And I did not wake alone. When I opened my eyes, the fog had crept closer. It lingered at the edges of the clearing, not in warning, not in silence, in witness. The stone sat in a circle. The mast hummed, and the roots remembered. And now, so do I.